Hi guys, in this next series of videos we're going to be looking at how to approach unseen poetry. We're going to look at a checklist of questions to ask ourselves when tackling an unseen poem. We will then examine a poem in detail using this checklist and look at how we might apply this in an exam-style question.
So firstly, this is my poetry checklist. This checklist lists all the types of questions that we need to ask ourselves when approaching not only just an unseen poem, but any poem, but this really works for unseen poetry. We have to look at various different aspects of the poem in order to completely comprehend the meaning and analyse the writer's techniques. Firstly, we need to look at form. We need to ask ourselves the following questions. What type of poem is it? Is it in a traditional form? Why is the form relevant to the content of the poem? And this is really important because writers will have chosen to write in a certain poetic form because of what they're writing about. So it's always worth trying to work out what the writers are trying to do here. We then have to look at structure. And structure can mean many things, but it includes stanzas, syntax or sentence structure, meter, and rhyme, or any other structural techniques. And if you want to learn a bit more about some common structural techniques in poetry, do go back and watch my introduction to poetry video. Questions we have to ask ourselves about stanzas are, does the content of each stanza influence how you read the poem? How does the syntax or sentence structure contribute to the meaning? Are there any moments in the poem where the rhythm shifts, and why? How does the rhyme structure change or contribute to the meaning? Then we need to take a look at the language of the poem. We look at things such as imagery. What images are used? What do they mean or represent? Techniques. What techniques are used and why? What is the tone of the poem? Is it satirical, melancholy, romantic? What is the style of the language? Is it formal or is it informal? Is it matter-of-fact, lyrical? There are many other options, of course, but these are questions that we ask to provoke ourselves into really thinking in detail about a poem. Then we look at voice, or who is speaking. Is it in the first or the third person? Who is it addressed to? How many voices are there in the poem? How many presences are there in the poem? What are their roles? And presences here, I just mean kind of people or things that the poem is talking about. So for example, if it's a first person poem but it's talking about their friend, then their friend would also be a presence in the poem. And then we have to think about what the tone of the voice is. We could have a very sarcastic tone or a very intense tone, a very melancholy tone, and so on.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're looking for an amazing A-level English literature resource, join me today in my series of engaging bite-sized video tutorials. Together, we will concisely cover all the important concepts required by your exam board specification, as well as practically apply what we have learnt through exam-style questions, focusing on how best to structure your answers in order to maximise marks. See you soon, and together, let's make A-level English literature a walk in the park.